Check it out. Really cool. And it probably gives some really cool shadows too. The size is perfect. The aesthetic is really not my thing. Pretty sure I'm gonna get a lot of heat on this one. I can neither loosen it nor tighten it, which is not great because it's leaking. Okay, so mold update, basement situation recap.
Quick summary for those of you that are new here. We'd bought this house sight unseen, knowing that the basement was full of junk, but when we arrived, it was also flooded. So after many days of clearing it out, throwing away a ton of stuff, and installing a temporary sub pump, we thought we'd manage to get the moisture under control. Until last week's episode where I found mold pushing through to the hardwood floors upstairs.
After having discussed the situation with Phil, we decided for a two-prong attack, and pretty sure I'm gonna get a lot of heat on this one. Pun fully intended, because we decided to get a propane heater, which generally speaking is meant for outdoors, and try to use it to just dry the heck out of the basement. That being one prong, the other prong being, as you can see behind me, a crap ton of fans. So first located a propane heater on Marketplace, drove out way longer than I would have liked to go get that, and then brought it back. The guy was quite nice. He made sure it was working for me. He was a machinist, so he had been using it regularly. Then I came back home and plugged it in this morning, and just out of an abundance of caution, I decided to test, make sure there weren't any leaks, and fun fact, there's a leak on the hose in this little joint here. And unfortunately someone jammed thread lock in that joint, so I can neither loosen it nor tighten it, which is not great because it's leaking. So trust me, I'm sure there are some of you out there who are planning on mansplaining me this situation, but I put my big brain on, went through all the possible options, called up Phil. He went through all the possible options. We concluded, since there are no replacements available in any of the hardware stores within a half-hour drive of here, the next best solution is going to be to just get some epoxy and just slather it around that joint. Since the piece is never going to be unthreaded anyway because of that thread lock, I literally can't undo it or tighten it, anything. There's nothing lost. So we're gonna just try and plug the leak with the epoxy, then use the propane heater with, again, an abundance of caution to try and dry it out. It will only be running when I can supervise it, when I'm home. It's not going to be running overnight. It's not going to be running when I leave the house, but we need to dry this basement out, and just purely circulating air is probably not going to do it, and it's definitely not going to do it at a rate that is going to be effective for us. Then I went and literally bought out all of the supply of fans in my area. I now have 4 giant ventilators, fans in English, and I'm just going to strategically place those around the basement, 2 in each half, and try to circulate more air. Hopefully it's going to be warm air at this point, and we're gonna hope that that does the job, because if it doesn't, I am not sure what the other options are. Superficially on the top, you saw me yesterday, I did spray it down with vinegar. I scrubbed it off wearing, full safety gear and everything. So that went fine, but that's kind of just putting a band-aid on the problem. It's not really fixing the source of the problem. Hopefully this here will fix the source of the problem. Also, actually, super excited about this. This whole shenanigans has dragged out for the past day and a half. I have spent the entire last day and a half driving around, picking things up, trying to find solutions, fixing ridiculous nonsense. However, the one good thing to come out of this was that while I was picking up all of these fans, I found some exterior paint on sale. It's a mist tint, even though it's basically just white. So instead of being, $50 to $60 for this gallon of exterior paint, it was $19.99, which is super exciting because I've kind of been holding off on redoing the outside front deck until I could get some paint. And honestly, $70 of exterior paint was literally not in the budget at this moment. So when I saw 20, I grabbed it. So really excited about that. Slightly less excited about getting the mold under control. I mean, I am. It's just like, I'm a little bit sick of this saga already, and it's only just beginning. So many of you commented on this sweater from last week's video. I really had no idea that it would generate this much interest. So first of all, thank you for all the lovely compliments. Yes, I am very pleased with how it turned out. And for those of you asking about the pattern, I have linked it in the video's description here and on the previous video. I've definitely enjoyed it immensely so far, so definitely give it a go. And for those of you who lamented that you didn't know how to knit or just weren't advanced enough to do cabling patterns, may I recommend to you some of the classes from this week's sponsor, Craftsy. Craftsy is your online resource for all things creative, from knitting and crocheting to baking, woodworking, gardening, all that. So if you want to be able to tackle a sweater like this, classes like the knit cabled hat or this course on how to knit 3 different types of cables might be just for you. Ones that made my list were definitely learning continental knitting, brioche knitting, as well as this Fair Isle class on stranded and steeked knitting techniques. Gah, love me some Fair Isle. Becoming a Craftsy member allows you access not only to tons of videos by talented and friendly experts, but it also allows you to connect with fellow makers and DIY enthusiasts to ask questions, share ideas, and stay inspired. If you'd like to join Craftsy, the link is in the description, and the first 1,000 people to click it will get a full year of premium membership to Craftsy for only $1.49. So big thanks to Craftsy for sponsoring this portion of the video, and may they help you on your knitting journey. Now, when we cut down all those trees a few episodes back, we didn't really do much with the trimmings. The larger portions of logs were dragged into the general vicinity of our backyard, where they were kind of vaguely piled up next to the house, but that happened to be perfectly in the way for any work I wanted to do outside, so they definitely needed to be moved and stacked, because yes, don't worry, I will be saving them for firewood. After sweating my butt off for hours in the sun, I decided to take a little break, come inside in the shade, and do some work on the bedroom. And at this point, I was basically just cleaning everything, the walls, the ceiling, the woodwork, the doors,
in preparation for some paint.
The more I start to clean this door, the more I cannot wait to get my heat gun and start stripping it down to the original wood because it's currently in such bad shape. There's paint chips missing everywhere. It doesn't close properly, although I will say that having just cleaned the edges of the door and the door frame itself already has helped a lot. So I can't even imagine once it's, you know, completely stripped down from what looks to be at least 4 coats of paint, how much better it's going to function and look. And I think it's just going to be absolutely stunning. It's definitely a solid wood door, high quality underneath all this paint. So one day I can just dream to eventually it's gonna be gorgeous, but for now the best I can do is just try and clean it up, make it look a little bit cleaner, try not to chip off too much paint as I'm sort of cleaning it off. But yeah, that's where we're at. So no sooner did I just finish telling you that I was going to leave the door as is, and then I went to shoot a little B-roll to show you what I was talking about, and wound up with these absolutely giant paint chips in my hand that just peeled right off. So stripping the door might be actually a lot easier than anticipated. However, I'm still not going to do it, one, because I don't have my heat gun yet, that's in the mail, but also because I don't have my lead tests yet, those are also in the mail. And while I don't think there's any lead paint in this outermost layer, there's quite a good chance that there might be some in some of the, you know, layers that are hidden underneath, and I'd rather be safe than sorry. So as much as it is absolutely tempting to me to continue peeling this flaking paint away because this crack does continue up, I could just keep on peeling off parts that are as big as my head. I'm going to refrain and wait and test them, make sure that there's no lead in them before I, you know, do anything rash, because safety first, right? But in the meantime, these cracks are just taunting me.
Well, friends, this actually segues really nicely into a segment that I've been wanting to do for a little while now, and that is to say a giant thank you to everybody who bought something off of my Amazon wish list, including a ton of lead cartridges, filters for the mask, and a whole bunch of other types of filters as well. So we will both be well protected going forward. So thank you so much. We're super safe. And I was blown away by the response to that video and to the wish list concept. So if you purchase something off of it, just a huge thank you. Please know that it really meant something to me. I was so moved, and it came at a moment in my life where I was having like a really tough few weeks, from family medical emergencies to unexpected dental work, to then I lost or had stolen my phone with 4 years of footage and memories and photos on it that I did not have backed up on the cloud. And trust me, lessons were learned there. But just having this overwhelming rush of support, so many people like literally demonstrating how far y'all are willing to go to support the channel and the project and just become a part of this house's history and renaissance, was really honestly incredibly overwhelming, and came at a very good time when I really needed that pick-me-up. So a huge thank you to everybody who contributed. If you'll indulge me for a split second with a little bit of story time, we were driving from Nova Scotia back to Montreal for a short visit, personal reasons, and we stopped at this tiny little town to gas, stretch our legs, and let Canel run around a little bit. And we were there for maybe 20-30 minutes max, and then we got back on the highway, and within a few seconds I realized I didn't have my phone. So we turned around and then spent the next 2.5 hours scouring the town. We only stopped in 2 places, and we went over our entire path. Like, we retraced our steps so minutely, and in the end we didn't find it. I don't know if I lost it. It is possible it was stolen. There was one moment where that could have happened, and like I said, I didn't have anything backed up, and I lost so many memories, so many photos, a lot of footage from the house, like months of footage from the house that I now can't make videos about, including a bunch of footage for a sponsorship that I'm probably gonna lose. So that really hit me. I've never lost a phone before, and yeah, that was really rough. So bringing it back to the wish list though, then we continued on. We had about 3 more hours till we hit Montreal. I was in such a funk during those 3 hours, and then we walked in to our apartment, and my friend had dropped off all of the packages that everybody had bought from the wish list. And let me tell you that physical manifestation of everybody's generosity and support and love, it was exactly what I needed. Like, it ripped me out of my funk. I was so cheerful. It was just a great reminder of how much love and support there is, and also that there's so much more work to be done on the house. Like, even if I lost a bunch of footage from the past, it's okay. There's gonna be so much more going forwards. So if you were somebody who purchased something off that list, just a giant thank you to you. I did have some concerns because I was reading when I was researching this that the little messages that you can leave, apparently there was a problem for a while where they weren't all getting through and people were just receiving all these packages anonymously. And I want to say I'm super happy. Everything so far has come through with a note, with the exception of 2 products. And honestly, that could just be from people who didn't leave a note or wanted to be anonymous, which I totally respect. So I'm very excited for this. As we start to use these in videos going forward, which probably won't show up on the channel for a few months at this point, but I will try to do little shout outs. I have actually been taping everybody's little note to the product, and so I'm hoping to give everybody a shout out, just again to say a thank you. We love the support that this community has shown us. Oh, Canal, I do have a message about the products for Canal, so one sec. Let me get her for her cameo. You're needed on screen. Come here. Denizens of YouTube want to see you. There we go. So originally, I did not put anything for Canal on the list because I didn't want, that felt indulgent. Like, I kind of wanted to try to keep it to necessities. But then I had so many people ask what they could get for Canal that I did finally add a couple things onto the list for her. And there were some problems. They did not arrive to the Canada address. They do seem to have come through to the US address. So I know some of you asked for a corgi unboxing video for all of her snacks, and oh, thank you. I want to assure you that that is coming. It's just not this moment because I need to wait till the next time that I go to the States to pick all that up. And then there will be all of the corgi snacking content that your heart desires. So Canal also says a big giant thank you to everybody for all the support and snacks. Bisous. Oh, thank you. So thank you so much for all the support and love, and it's really, really appreciated. So I've had a lot of questions both here and on Instagram about how the dump system in Nova Scotia works, because apparently not everybody has a similar setup. So here's a quick rundown. Basically, you go and pay to drop off your garbage. This is the same place that our dumpster guy dumped the giant 16-foot dumpster we rented, and I've even run into him there before because you better bet we're frequent flyers there. And actually, fun fact, the only place we've been recognized from the channel was at the dump, which I found very fitting, although to be fair, it was actually Canal that they recognized. And if you're still watching the channel, hello, very nice to meet you. I hope your own house is coming along swimmingly. But anyways, It's a fairly simple process. You pull onto the giant scale as you enter. They mark down your weight and what kind of garbage you're dumping, and then you pull up to the dumpsters and empty your car. There's different categories of garbage like household waste, hazardous waste, fridge drop-off, construction waste, and they're all charged at different rates. So you unload your car into the proper dumpster, then you go weigh your car again on the way out, and they'll just bill you according to the difference in weight. If you have more than one type of garbage in your car, you have to kind of do the whole circuit multiple times, dumping only one category of garbage each time, and then that way they can make sure they charge you accurately. They do have a strict non-scavenging policy, which, as you've already seen, I blatantly disregard whenever people throw away perfectly good things, but based on my comments, I'm not the only one here who does so.
So let's talk lighting. And as you can see behind me here, I have assembled but a small selection of the various lighting options that are just sort of sprinkled throughout this house. I actually tried to take you along with me as I collected some of these, but most of them came from the attic, and it is so hot in the attic right now that it actually corrupted my SD card and I lost all of that footage. So please enjoy. Here is what I came up with. And the first thing that stands out to me, at least, is that the person who formerly owned this house had very different taste than I did. Everything is very floral, very feminine, what I would consider very over the top. Nothing that's quite standing out to me as loving this aesthetic. The other thing that stands out to me besides the aesthetic is that a lot of these options are really, really big, and I don't want something big. I want just like a small bedside light that's not going to take up a lot of space. It's not going to be obtrusive. So in these small options, there are basically only two. One is this guy right here, which the size is perfect. The aesthetic is really not my thing. The other option, slightly larger, but significantly more my aesthetic, is this guy. It's just this plain glass and what looks like brass maybe fixture. Definitely, like everything else in this house, needs a good scrub down, but that is the current plan. Also, I found one other super cool little find in the attic. Not exactly a bedside table, but check it out. It's super, super cool. It looks very much like an Art Deco style lamp. While it's probably not original to the house, there's a very good chance that it's super old. And it's in pretty good shape. So I cannot wait to eventually clean this up and use it somewhere in the house, because I think it's probably really cool, and it probably gives some really cool shadows too. If anyone has any tips on cleaning this up without harming the finish on the metal, please feel free to leave me a comment, because I love the patina. I don't want to do anything to damage it, but it does need a significant clean. That's for sure. Moving on.
All right, friends, it is time for another patron question, and this one comes from Lala Pants, who wants to know if there's anything in particular about the house that I am eager to restore. And let me tell you, there is so much that I am eager to restore that it could be an entire video in and of itself. But let's do the Cliff Notes version here. I have a small little list ahead of me, and let's quickly run through them. So first up on the list, learning how to plaster, replacing the plaster work in some of these walls. It might be that I do a couple walls and decide that I don't need to do the rest of the patches in the house with real plaster. It can be drywall. But for sure, there are some sections in the house where I think it would be lovely to replace the plaster with actual real plaster. Plus, I do think that plaster has several benefits over drywall. Can get into that later, but for now, Cliff Notes version. Then the next item on the list is seeing if the woodwork can be stripped, or rather seeing if it should remain stripped, because I know I'm capable of stripping the woodwork, but I have heard that in houses of this era, particularly the Dutch colonials, which is pretty much what my house is, that they were often constructed with inferior woods that were always intended to be painted. Although it would be nice just to get all of the millions of layers of paint off of them so that you can really see the details in this trim work, because it is stunning, but also a little bit hard to make out at some points. Next up, the marble fireplaces, one of which we have behind us here. Now, if you have been following along on the episodes, you will know by now that I found one other fireplace surround in our attic and discovered that it was this gorgeous black marble with these streaks of other color running through it. And that makes me think, because it matched these ones, that under all this white paint, it's probably black marble under there. And I have been considering whether I want to strip back some of these fireplaces here. I think it would be a lovely tribute to the original feature of the house. At the same time, I do totally understand why somebody painted them white. First of all, I love how it makes the cast iron black surround pop. I think that's actually a really cool feature. Not to mention that black marble is very somber, it's very dark, so you would need to decorate the rest of the room accordingly, and I'm not certain that I necessarily want to go there in all the rooms, but maybe in one or two it could be kind of fun. Next on the list is redoing the wood floors eventually, assuming that they have another sanding left in them, because I'm not an expert, but looking at them, I do think they have another sanding at least left in them. And also, judging by the rest of the house and how much, or actually how little, it's been renovated throughout the years, I'm kind of inclined to think that I have at least one more sanding left in them. A decision I might regret once I'm in the middle of it and, you know, just up to here in sawdust, but for now I'm looking forward to it. Then, while we're speaking about original woodwork, there are the picture rails. Now, we have original picture rails in one room, the room on the other side of this, and it's quite possible that there are some in this room as well, but they would be above the drop ceiling. But even if there isn't, I'll probably just install some because they are clearly original feature. They definitely go well with the age of the house, and I love picture rails. They're stunning, they're so much fun, so definitely gonna get the picture rails, and then probably gonna get the fun little picture rail hooks that go with them that are just, they have some very cute options out there. Maybe I could learn to make some more as well. Yeah, looking forward to that. So that basically sums up most of the features that I'm the most looking forward to redoing. Be sure to let me know which ones pop out the most to you, which ones are the most interesting from your perspective. Maybe there are some things in the house that you are thinking of that I haven't even thought of. Maybe I just forgot them and will remember them instantly once I turn the camera off. But that's kind of what I got for the moment for you.
So having chosen the lamp that I really liked, I next sat down for a bit of lamp surgery. I basically took the lamp that I really liked, and then I found another one that I did not particularly care for, and I started to swap the wiring because I really wanted to use the lamp shade holding feature of the smaller lamp so that I could actually get a lampshade on this. But in order to get it off that lamp and then onto the lamp that I liked, I had to cut some wires, and it wasn't a big deal, but apparently now I'm an electrician. For real though, don't panic. I have some minor experience wiring things. This is not my first rodeo. And also, rewiring lamps is actually quite easy. Although I will say it's not as easy as in Denmark, where the plugs are screwed together and they're super easy to dismantle, tweak, rewire, and then reinstall. You just screw them back together, but I digress. Now, in the end, I didn't
end up using this lamp in the bedroom because it was just too tall. The furniture it was supposed to go on was sitting up against a slanted mansard wall, and the lampshade just kept hitting the wall because it was super tall and there was that angle. So I did end up scrapping it for the bedroom redo, but since I like it so much and I've kind of fallen in love with its simple elegantness and it has cleaned up really well, I will definitely be saving it for elsewhere in the house. And on the plus side, it now has a working lampshade.